Back at it at 855 Law Radio or Radio Law Talk. We've got a Twitter account, Facebook page. We've got a website. We even have an Instagram page. If you want to talk to us or follow us or talk to us about the latest goings on during the week, go ahead and just follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter or Instagram. We like all that social media stuff. Beautiful, beautiful summer day here with Denise, myself, and Todd. Denise is a family law attorney. I am a personal injury lawyer. Did a little bit of real estate back from the very beginning in the early 90s. Very little, but personal injury lawyer. And then we got Todd Cuden, who's a former prosecutor out of Tennessee and of California, who now has his own general practice, general criminal practice. That's what he does. And we have Cal
He
Hunter.
represents general criminals.
There are a select group that I just can't take, but
Cal
select group.
Cal is a 3-time nominated Emmy Award nominated, but never a winner, but thinks he's a lawyer.
Right.
Thinks he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer wannabe.
Listen, no, it's like the guys on the TV commercials. You know, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, so, you know.
There you go.
Right.
All I got to say, Cal, is I've met many a lawyer. I think you're smarter than a lot of them. So there you go.
I'm sorry for them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're here. We're going to talk about a case or no case. That's our game we like to play that everybody loves. We're going to talk about Epstein. That's going to take up some time. There's a lot of theories going on. We're going to talk as lawyers about this. Remember, we're talking about general topics of law. Seek legal counsel. Do not use us as your legal advice. Thank you for emailing us quite often. We love your emails, but a lot of times I have to say, sorry, we can't give out legal advice over the air. Remember, you can, however, use Radio Law Talk against your in-laws or family members you don't like around the dinner table, or usually a picnic, or sometimes at a church picnic is good, or at a work picnic or dinner is good to use us to thwart the they-sayers. And that's what's important.
The only advice I ever really can give here is I advise you to hire an attorney.
That's exactly
yes,
right.
That's my advice.
So we're going to talk about Epstein, Facebook lawsuit about face recognition. And what does swatted mean? We're going to talk about what swatted mean. There is an actual criminal issue or criminal case, criminal laws against what's called swatting, and I'm telling you, till I studied up on this issue, I had no idea what they're talking about. Denise and I probably didn't. Todd did probably.
Has nothing to do with disciplining your child.
That's exactly right. And we might, if we can get into it and have enough time, we're going to talk about ASAP. What was it? ASAP Rocky was found guilty in Sweden. He's a rapper, and we're going to discuss that fight and what happened with that. And actually, President Trump got involved, and so did some other famous actors and actresses to try to help him out. So let's do this. Let's get case or no case rolling right away, Cal, because I won the last one, and I hope you added my 2 points on, and I think my colleagues need help to catch up.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
And again, we remind you, this is strictly a game. There'll be no wagering allowed. And now I take you to Alpharetta, Georgia, where a woman by the name of Mimi Buckwalter had a problem. Her doctor suggested that she take a drug for her cold, an antihistamine. The doctor suggested a name brand. It said now it has some potential side effects, so read up on them. She went to the drugstore, looked at the label of the name brand, and it specified how often she should take this pseudoephedrine drug. She looked at the name brand version and read the warnings and said okay, and took the generic medicine home. There were warnings on the generic, but they were kind of hard to see, but anyway, it didn't matter. She took the medicine home and popped them, and immediately after about 45 minutes began experiencing heart palpitations, a pretty serious complication. Well, she looked at the generic bottle and couldn't see these warnings, and she thought, well, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my cold. And so she called the doctor the next day. The doctor said, what are you doing? You were supposed to call me. The warning said to reach out to me the second this happens. If you have heart complications with this stuff, what are you doing? And especially because the lack of timely response in the elderly Miss Buckwalter, not Buckwalter, what's her last name, is that right? Yes,
Yes.
Miss Buckwalter,
Mimi.
may cause her some serious medical problems that could damage her heart for the rest of her life. So I ask you, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Penny, in this case, case or no case? What do you think?
I don't think you're going to do 2 no cases in a row. So this is my strategery goes first.
Okay.
And so I'm going to call it a case, and this is a standard thing that happens all the time. Miss Buckwalter does buy. In fact, I have dealt with cases where they have gotten generic medications, and it was the wrong medication. Whoopsie doopsie, they took it, and something happens to them. Those are cases that I have handled in the past, quite some time ago, actually. But the warnings, they're there for a reason. Let me generally state, all they have to do is give you the proper warnings. Doesn't mean they're not going to get sued or didn't have knowledge that even with the warnings, they're still going to have issues. The lady should have called her doctor. I'm going to say it's a case, and she loses.
Mr. Cunin, what say you, case or no case?
Well, this reminds me of that story. I think I heard it on Paul Harvey a long time ago or something about the person that had an ear infection and they were given drops by the doctor and they were supposed to put a couple of drops in their right ear every couple of hours. And I'll be danged if the pharmacist didn't mess up and they left out the space between R and ear. So it's supposed to say 2 drops in R space ear every 2 hours. It read, Doc, my earache is still here because the instructions read 2 drops in rear every hour. And, I don't know how this is going to help my hearing, but...
Who's the one that had to put the drops in?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Whatever.
Charles, I know we're next door neighbors, and I borrowed the mower, but do you mind?
We're friends, right? Okay.
Here's your mower back.
By the way,
no.
if you could give me a hand here. I got this dropper, and woo! Could you maybe run your hands under some hot water there before we finish this procedure? Okay, so I'm just gonna go along with Fred because there's something I learned a while ago that I should have adhered to, which is the man seated to my right has been very successful in life, and that has to bleed over to case or no case. And you just can't go wrong if you hitch your wagon to Fred Penny. So I'm going to go what he said.
Nice.
Okay, Ms. Dirks, what say you?
What year was this?
This was in, I don't know. Let me look. Do I have the year?
Hurry and make it up, Cal.
I don't have a year. I don't know. Don't have a year. Sorry.
You don't have a year because it sounds like you know how your pharmacist has to talk to you and give you the warnings and now do all that because some people can't read, write, or all that. Because this was too small. She couldn't read the writing. She couldn't read anything about the warnings. And I just think that Cal needs glasses. So I'm going to say no case.
Okay, you're going 2 no cases in a row?
I am. Well, I didn't get it right last time.
I know, but you're going 2 in a row. Well, we're going to find out when we come back, Denise, if you're right, or I'm right, or Todd and I are right. Because Todd's hitching his ride to a person that thinks he's successful. The wife reminds me I'm not. And so,
not successful enough.
No. As my brother, well, I'm going to be careful. As one I know that is a judge, as soon as he put his robe on and he was sworn in, the wife turned to him at the party afterwards and said, "Dear, here's the garbage. Take it out."
Big man.
We'll be right back. We're going to talk about case or no case. If it's Denise, myself, or Todd that wins, call us at 855-LAW-RADIO.
We appreciate you turning on Radio Law Talk on your favorite radio station and on RadioLawTalk.com.
For legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to RadioLawTalk.com.
Warning, don't let your business get left behind in what is likely to be the biggest economic boom in recent history. If you need to build for your business to grow, call General Steel today for a pre-engineered steel building designed for your needs. No wasted space. Steel prices are expected to rise, but you can still lock in your price on a General Steel building. And you can still save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. As much as half. But you must call now. If you need a church building, office, warehouse, manufacturing space, retail space, or more, call General Steel today. You can still get the General's 50-year structural warranty and General Steel quality, all at a price you can afford. So don't let rising steel prices put your project out of reach and stop you from making your company great.
800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. That's 800-617-9312.
The cost of getting rid of garbage is high, and recycling products is lucrative. If you're a business or know of a business that needs an individual compactor or baler, call Northwest Compacting at 888-201-0911. If you already have an industrial compactor, baler, or shredder and need service, don't forget to call Northwest Compacting at 888-201-0911. Northwest Compacting, your full-service industrial compacting and baling company. Read more about them at northwestcompacting.com.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-263-2610. 800-263-2610. That's 800-263-2610.
Many women have so many clothes in the closet, but then we go to get dressed and find we have nothing to wear. We've all been there. We all want to be comfortable and fashionable at the same time, and it's difficult to find clothing that makes that task effortless. But at Letty & Company, you can find trendy, comfortable clothing that is affordable, things you'll want to wear every day. Shop with a purpose, online with free shipping. Just go to LETTYandcompany.com. LettyandCompany.com.
I've got to get my car washed. This dirt, it just won't do. But I don't have no time today. I don't know what I do.
Man, I know this place right down the road. Quick Quack Car Wash. Hop inside, let's take a ride and watch this cat shine. Just come and see, I guarantee your ride will steal the show. Come on, Quick Quack Car Wash. Don't drive that dirty car. Quick Quack Car Wash. They'll have you looking sharp.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
Mimi Buckwalter, did she have a case when she took some pills that had some warning of heart problems on it and she couldn't read the warning labels because it was too small? Cal, what say you?
Well, I'll say first off that I have a great pharmacist, and many of us do, right? And every once in a while, I'll get into a discussion with that pharmacist and say, well, you know, you give me these generics, and when you give me a name brand, there's a bunch of stuff printed on the name brand box, and when you give me a generic, I can't read it. And she said, that's okay. If we give you the sheet of paper that comes with it, according to the federal standard, it's just as good as if you had it on the label. And I thought, you know, that might make an interesting case or no case.
Denise, you did it twice in a row.
So for those of you who said this was a case, that would be Fred and Todd. Todd's hanging his head in shame. I say, oh man.
I didn't think you'd get us two in a row with no case.
Well, here's the good news. Next time, I'm taking you to Texas and oil country. for Case.
Denise.
Or no Case. Yeah, we don't have it. Why don't you go look made up?
We'll get one with the kids to come in and say Denise.
That's
Denise,
a good
Denise.
idea. That case or no case. Now back to the show. Thanks, guys.
All right, but you're still following. Fred Penny's still way ahead of Todd.
Hey, look.
I can give you the score if you want.
Yeah,
it's all about statistics, and I'm still gonna, hitch my wagon here because 9 out of 10 ain't bad.
Well, Todd has 17 points and Fred has 31, so there's been an unhitched wagon a couple of times.
What about Denise?
Denise has 27.
Okay, you're catching me,
She's
Denise.
pretty close.
4 points more.
Yeah,
but that's kind of like.
Did we lose points at last
You
week?
got a 0 last time. You had 25.
No. I'm just saying, like Fred, I had him at 35.
Do the listeners care
about this? Did we actually lose things last week? No, they don't care.
Denise,
the listeners.
If he has Fred at 31, don't
shut
go
up.
saying he's got 35.
He's ahead of you. Be quiet.
But I had you at 18.
Note to self: if ever caught behind enemy lines, hope Denise doesn't have secrets.
That's exactly right. What gun?
Yeah.
Oh, this.
Okay, they're landing on the beach tomorrow.
Yeah. No, it wasn't me and him that robbed the bank. There were 10 of us. Bill, John, Francine.
Is that what was happening in Epstein's jet?
Yeah.
For those of you who've been living under a rock, as I always say, there's a guy by the name of Jeffrey Epstein. There was, who committed suicide supposedly they're claiming, in prison. He was a billionaire. Now, I was just bringing this up and talking to Cal during the break. I just don't, and Cal made a great point. I said, I don't get, this guy's worth $1 billion with a B, and he's trying to bring young girls into his jet and trying to have sexual relations with young girls. What? The guy's a billionaire. He can get any lady he wants. And ladies, by the way, I'm not saying this because you can be bought, but I'm just saying, look, if you got money, there is, people that like you, man, woman, whatever, you're liked, and you can be liked. And again, I don't want to come across that way, but that is very true. What is he thinking? And Cal turned to me and said, just because he's got money doesn't mean he's smart, Fred. And I said, good point, Cal. And this guy had in 2008, and you can go to our www.radiolawtalk.com, go to our podcast. We've talked about this for the past few weeks. In 2008, was basically found guilty and served some time.
He pled. He was being investigated and charged by the federal prosecutors in Miami, or in Florida, and he pled to 2 state prostitution charges, and he served, I believe it was 16 months in state prison. So that was the deal that he worked out, and he was able to get a no prosecute agreement against certain of his friends that were around him that were also, co-conspirators or alleged to be co-conspirators. And that, he thought, okay, that happened in 2008. It's done. It's for what acts I did between 2002 and 2005. It's over, right?
Right.
But what did New York do? New York said, no, it's not over because you haven't been prosecuted federally yet. So we can come in now in New York State and federally prosecute you, and they arrested him on July 7th, I believe, of this year.
And this didn't just end in 2008, apparently. It went on past that, didn't it? Did he do other things also, they're alleging, or not?
One of the allegations was that he had to have a term of house arrest in Florida for the 2008, and the way they worked that was he would spend the nights in jail, but he was able to go to his place of business during the day. And the allegation is that at any given time, there were at least 3 females brought in for him to engage in sexual relations with while he was at the office. And so the question is, who was funneling the people in and getting that? And so it's just a nightmare.
Right. And now the coroner in New York actually found that he committed suicide.
Yeah, so what they found, Denise, is in detail is that he had taken bed sheets. So he was not on suicide watch. He was on suicide watch. Was not, then was not. And apparently, again, the rumors are flying, and there's allegations that his attorneys took him off suicide watch. It wasn't the jail or the Justice Department.
Or they had lobbied to get him off, and somebody agreed.
Right.
But yes.
And they agreed to take him off, and they found him, according to the coroner's report, strangulation. Not strangled, but he He committed suicide by hanging himself, tying the bed sheets together around his neck. Now,
and broke a very important bone in the very front of his neck.
The hyoid bone, yes.
Yes, it's very hard to break that bone.
But Cal was bringing up another good point, though, and we're not doctors, but the older you get, the more brittle it is, so it might have been easier to break as an older man.
And this may have been his second attempt as well.
Yes, and the issue is, how does this all happen in jail? And a lot of people are still thinking it's difficult to commit suicide in jail. And not only that, they're supposed to be watching him every 30 minutes. And supposedly they had signed off on it, and they have videos showing that the guards were not actually watching them at the time. So I don't know if it was just laziness or if it was someone that was kind of pushing some buttons. We're going to talk more about some interesting things in this Epstein case when we come back. We'll be right back. 855 Law Radio.
This is Radio Law Talk on RadioLawTalk.com and, of course, on your favorite radio station. Thanks for listening.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to RadioLawTalk.com.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. That's 800-918-1376.
Warning, don't let your business get left behind in what is likely to be the biggest economic boom in recent history. If you need to build for your business to grow, call General Steel today for a pre-engineered steel building designed for your needs. No wasted space. Steel prices are expected to rise, but you can still lock in your price on a General Steel building. And you can still save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. As much as half. But you must call now. If you need a church building, office, warehouse, manufacturing space, retail space, or more, call General Steel today. You can still get the General's 50-year structural warranty and General Steel quality, all at a price you can afford. So don't let rising steel prices put your project out of reach and stop you from making your company great.
800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. That's 800-617-9312.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-263-2610. 800-263-2610. That's 800-263-2610.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, shiny, sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Going to get my car suds at the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car wash, 100 feet of cloth, washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, or Chevy, Sauber, Cadillac, quick whack, will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy, looking snappy, you'll be glad you was after Quick Whack. Car wash, get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Whack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road, come visit the Doug.
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash. Quick Quack.
All right, guys, we need to have you read some lines for our disclaimer promo, but first, can anybody tell me what a disclaimer is? All right, then. Well, Denise, you go ahead.
Non uti concilius me oriere proquestis purpurium juris consult.
Latin, that's a nice touch. Thank you, Denise. Next time we'll try it in English if that's okay. Fred, how about you?
Cal, I don't want to read all this. Can't we just tell the people that we're discussing general legal issues and they should hire their own attorney instead of relying on what we have to say here?
Well, we could, I guess. Chris?
I'm not going to be there anyway. Why have me do it?
Let's have Todd do it.
Me? Read disclaimers? Why, I couldn't. The information you hear on Radio Law Talk is general.
The preceding promo was for entertainment purposes only. And if you want true legal advice, contact your own lawyer. Just a tip from your friends at Radio Law Talk.
Be sure to read our disclaimers on radiolawtalk.com as well.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. You can listen to the show there, and there's a lot of other good information, too. That's radiolawtalk.com.
So in the Epstein case, we're going to get into the civil trial that has just began, and we're going to discuss that in a minute, but we're still kind of setting this up. Todd and I, during the break, we're talking about a few interesting things about Epstein's death.
That's right. And so the medical examiner in New York has ruled that it was a suicide. But again, as we talked about, there are a couple things that are unique about it. I mean, first off, the hyoid bone, which is right around where the Adam's apple is, was broken, as well as they found other bones that were broken. My guess is that could have been the way he attempted suicide with the bed sheet. If he had several attempts to try to do that, that might have been responsible for how that happened. But as Fred was pointing out, the guards were supposed to be checking in on him every 30 minutes, and the indication now is they actually had fallen asleep. And when they found him dead, they went back and falsified their reports to the allegation is to make it look like they had gone, but video showed that they had not actually been looking in on him every 30 minutes like they were supposed to.
Isn't it interesting that as soon as this came out, the union came out and said, well, you know, these guys are working overtime shifts. Well, yeah, you work overtime. That happens. I don't understand. But that was the first line of defense for their representative was, well, you know, they're working overtime.
Yeah, and tired. That's what
so does that justify sleeping on the job? I'm confused by that. But secondly, there are various scenarios, if you really want to think about it, where a person could break the hyoid bone, even a 6-foot-tall guy, if he could jump from the bunk bed with enough pressure to put the snap on the neck, because that's how hanging kills people, is by breaking their neck. That's how it works.
And then that brings on the heart attack.
Precisely.
And that's an important point, Denise, that you just raised there, which was a lot of terms are getting confused and thrown around. So the medical examiner determined that it was a suicide, and also determined that the suicide attempt started by the hanging or the hanging in the jail cell. But hanging, if you die by hanging, your cause of death would be a strangulation or something like that. Epstein actually died from a heart attack, which is when they found him hanging, they got him, they took him to the hospital. He had a heart attack, and the heart failure was what did him in. That's what killed him. Long and short of it, at this point, he's dead. And there's been a lot of speculation as to whether or not it was a murder or whether or not it was suicide. And the medical examiner has ruled, coroner has ruled, that it was a suicide. I found it kind of interesting in one report that I wrote or that I read with regard to this, when they're talking about the Epstein case, and the commenter said, if this report from the Wall Street Journal is accurate, it certainly begins to look like the person chiefly responsible for Jeffrey Epstein being dead is Jeffrey Epstein. And my thought was, well, if it wasn't a murder, isn't that a given?
But here's the question. I would really like to know, if this case were presented to you, Todd, Fred, Denise, would you say, I mean, just on the facts that you have or the information you have, murder, jail-assisted suicide, Epstein by himself, how would you call it?
I would say that he wanted to kill himself. That's what I would say. And it's to escape being in prison. He had already been in prison before, but he got out every work day.
Right.
Right? He had to spend the nights and the weekends apparently in the jail.
And it was in a jail, not the prison anyway.
That's true. And now he's in hardcore federal prison. And he's probably the most notorious person in that prison. And he also alleged that he had been, kind of roughed up by some of the other, by one of his prison roommates.
Buddies,
yeah.
Yes. Right.
And, that type of stuff. And I think he just said, hey, life's too short. Let's shorten my life.
It's going to get shorter.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I would say that this is a suicide on his part, not assisted by anybody else. And I mean, look, if anything, maybe I could see a scenario where maybe he greases the skids to the guards to say, hey, if you guys look the other way, I'll do this, and there's an account with money. If that came to light, it wouldn't surprise me at all, but I don't think that it was a murder to keep him quiet for this reason. Usually in cases where people have information about somebody else, that information would come to light in some sort of trade. Right? So if you turn evidence against this person, then they can be prosecuted, and that's where it comes to light, and the person is silenced by murder or whatever to keep that from happening. After the outcry of the 2008 resolution, I find it hard to believe that any prosecuting entity, any state agency would touch reaching some sort of a quid pro quo deal with Epstein with a 10-foot cattle prod. It wasn't going to happen given what happened previously.
Political suicide.
Yeah, he might have had all the information in the world. He could not find, to put it in financial terms, somebody to buy that stock. That was not going to happen.
There were really high-powered persons that were kind of alleged to be unnamed co-conspirators. Wexner, one of his former best friends, some of the incidents were alleged to happen in his home. And then
it's all allegations.
These are allegations. I'm really clear. These are just allegations of co-conspirators. It's not actual. Yeah. But there's some rumors about Alan Dershowitz, a very famous lawyer, about Prince Andrew, about Trump, Donald Trump, and Bill Clinton. That's kind of a funny little group.
Yeah, you got a Democrat and a Republican.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the former New Mexico governor, Bill Richardson, and then you've also got the former U.S. Senator George Mitchell. All of those have had some allegations brought against them. They may not be true, but it does bring this to the public, and it does make this more important because what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to get public officials who are corrupt.
So here's the thing that I want to say also on that issue. Don't forget, a guy like Epstein, a billionaire, he is walking around all circles. How many people has this guy touched their lives, or people have been involved? Thousands, tens of thousands, maybe 100,000. And for people, and now that this is a big deal, what kind of worries me about the I'm going to call it the immediacy news, Twitter, Instagram, immediate news, is that doesn't mean they're guilty just because they saw the guy. I go to functions everywhere, and Denise does, and Todd. I shake hands with people. I'm sitting with them at tables, and I deal with them. And later I find, that guy's kind of a weirdo or has done some bad things.
Or registered sex offender.
Yeah, and I don't know, and you don't know, or even that you've, showed up at a party where they were,
And talking about the immediacy, I'll give you an example. It's a case we covered here on Radio Law Talk. Kevin Spacey, right? When Kevin Spacey was first facing charges in Nantucket, that was front page, above the fold in newsprint, top headline in CNN, NBC, Fox News, Kevin Spacey charged in sexual assault. When the case was ultimately dismissed by the prosecutor after the preliminary hearing, when everything just went crazy and all the evidence dried up, that news was back page news. It was, on the second page of whatever Google hit, it didn't get any place. So the public was aware that he was being prosecuted. That's going to stick in people's mind. There's a whole bunch of people out there thinking now that he actually assaulted somebody in Nantucket, and they didn't even see that case was dismissed. And the same thing's true here. Right. It's the shock value of the association.
All the people that are associated.
Yeah. And speaking of association, the FBI right now today is out on his 7,000 or 8,000 acre Zorro Ranch, from where he planned to impregnate as many people as he could with his seed, to pass on his seed.
You're talking about Epstein, right?
Yes. That's an allegation. I didn't hear about that.
No, that was his deal.
That was his thing.
Yeah, it was his
really?
thing.
Yes, he wanted to have as many children as he could possibly have.
Boy, that's a strange guy. I knew he was strange, but I didn't hear about that one.
I think when we come back, we need to talk about the victims now and what the law is now to assist the victims.
All right, we'll be back.
No, you've got time.
We still have time.
I thought we were.
Yeah, because we're talking about people who are fearful, and one of them was, I hope I pronounced this name right, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was an associate that people thought, oh, she could be getting in trouble. Well, a lawsuit's now been filed against her.
And others.
And others identified as Jane Doe's 1 through 4, but she is the one named in the lawsuit. And the primary allegation in this lawsuit is she is the one, among others, that would help to procure and groom these females for introduction to Epstein. Those are the allegations. These teenage girls.
And the one that's bringing this lawsuit is Jennifer Arrows, and it's interesting, her story, and we're going to go over her story briefly and what she's saying happened and how this happened with Epstein. And not just her, she's just the tip of the iceberg, according to the attorneys and according to others. So that's what we're going to get into when we get back. And Cal, I think you can just take us out. But it's interesting because she's been on NBC News with an exclusive talking about it. I've looked at it. I've read some stuff. And what a brave young lady, by the way.
A lot of stuff to talk about coming up right here on Radio Law Talk. You stay right there, and we will be right back. You're listening to Radio Law Talk on your radio or at radiolawtalk.com.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com. If you're one of those independent people who wants your own business and you love food service, we just might have a great opportunity for you. Iceberg Drive-Ins. Iceberg is famous for its thick shakes and delicious food. We lend you our supply chain and expertise, and you can potentially have a thriving, successful, fun business that your customers will love. Iceberg Drive-Ins has some prime areas available right now, so if you're interested, get in touch with us right away. Go to icebergdrivein.com and click on the Contact Us button. Iceberg Drive-In, ready to grow with you.
Warning, don't let your business get left behind in what is likely to be the biggest economic boom in recent history. If you need to build for your business to grow, call General Steel today for a pre-engineered steel building designed for your needs. No wasted space. Steel prices are expected to rise, but you can still lock in your price on a General Steel building. And you can still save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. As much as half. But you must call now. If you need a church building, office, warehouse, manufacturing space, retail space, or more, call General Steel today. You can still get the General's 50-year structural warranty and General Steel quality, all at a price you can afford. So don't let rising steel prices put your project out of reach and stop you from making your company great.
800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. 800-617-9312. That's 800-617-9312.
I am Cameron Levitt, Chief Operating Officer of Concussion Medical Clinic. California's first concussion medical clinic is now open. As concussions increase each year, there has never been a greater need for concussion specialists. Our physicians at Concussion Medical Clinic are board certified in pediatric neurology and sports medicine and have partnered with universities, hospitals, and rehab clinics to expedite the recovery process. Simply put, we are elevating the standard of care. When you need an expert concussion opinion or concussion care, visit concussionmedicalclinic.com to schedule your appointment.
Many women have so many clothes in the closet, but then we go to get dressed and find we have nothing to wear. We've all been there. We all want to be comfortable and fashionable at the same time, and it's difficult to find clothing that makes that task effortless. But at Letty & Company, you can find trendy, comfortable clothing that is affordable, things you'll want to wear every day. Shop with a purpose, online with free shipping. Just go to LETTYandcompany.com, LettyandCompany.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke.
145 over 92, and then I had a heart attack.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I feel like if I didn't have anyone to push me, I wouldn't give a bother to do it. I got one milestone down the drain, and now I got to work on the next. I see the future is really bright for me. I feel like it doesn't matter the age, as long as you go back and get it done. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
No one gets a diploma alone. You have more support than you realize. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I like the Amargosa Valley. Oh, stop it. Oh, come on.
Time to get back to Radio Law Talk on RadioLawTalk.com and on your favorite radio station.
So Mr. Epstein's assistant, Miss Maxwell, which we talked about, she's 57 now approximately. Apparently she was the person that got this Jennifer Eros involved with Mr. Epstein, and apparently this is what happened in New York near his townhome. Not her. What do you mean not her?
It was another person that did it, but Maxwell was involved day to day, but not the one that actually got the girl, the victim.
No, that's Jennifer Eros. It wasn't Miss Maxwell that was bringing her over. That was someone else. But but she apparently, according to Jennifer Eros and her attorney, she was almost like the puppeteer, doing this, and that's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a good clarification. So what happens is she is in a school that is an arts school, and she wants to be an actress, and it's a very prestigious, apparently, art type school, not like painting art, but like the arts. Some gal came up and started talking to her and got to know her somehow, and in a long story short, got her to come meet Mr. Epstein. Her father, that is Jennifer Eros' father, had passed away previously, and
from cancer.
And they kind of groomed her. I guess the whole issue is she was groomed. These are her allegations, by the way.
So the person that procured her actually said that your father wanted you to meet Mr. Epstein, and Mr. Epstein wants to help you. Because he understands that your father has died. So they actually use the death of the father in procuring this person, this woman, or at the time a teenager, and getting him hooked up with Epstein.
And by the way, these are allegations, and by the way, denied vehemently by the other side, which we haven't heard their side. So you remember that. Innocent until proven guilty. But she goes on the television and talks. She was only 14 and 15 at the time. And she came home with $300, and he'd give her $300. At first, it was just a meeting, and then she claims that, again, allegations claim that she was groomed, and then acts that occurred after that, But Todd.
And then she said she did not. After she was raped, she
left.
Not go back.
That's right.
Ever.
Which was smart. She did according to her allegations, she left. But Todd brought up a very interesting question during the break.
Yeah, so this was all alleged to happen when she was, 13, 14 years old. And, I had a 13-year-old daughter that was in a middle school. I picked her up every day from school. And I could tell you, if my daughter came home and said,
or didn't come home.
If I went to go pick her up and she wasn't there, or if I heard that somebody that I didn't know was meeting with my daughter and having coffee, and then arranging, meetings, and I might not even known about the meetings, but I do know my daughter's now coming home with $300 a pop, and having a little bit of money. My question is, who was there? Where were the parents to look
the mom
at what's going on, or whoever, the mom, or if she remarried, I don't know, but where were the parents looking after this? I want to be clear here. I am not suggesting this or saying this in any way to provide a defense or to condone any of the actions by Maxwell, the Jane Does that are alleged here, or Epstein, or anybody. I'm not. My question is, where were the parents in this?
And I can answer that. Maybe she's a single mom, maybe she's not. But my mom would have been working 2 or 3 jobs just trying to support us because we had many children. And she always had to work 2 or 3 jobs. She never at one point was only working 1 job while I was a teenager or younger.
Now, let me tell you why I think that would hurt Maxwell and Epstein. Because if that is the case, if it was the case with Araz, that a mom was a single mom, then it's even worse that not only are they preying on somebody whose father died, tragically, but they're also going after somebody that they know is what we used to call, when I was a kid, a latchkey kid whose parents aren't there, and they're swooping in because they know there's no adult involvement.
Yes.
And when people are looking at, just as a public service announcement, when people are looking at what we can do in the future to protect our kids from this kind of behavior, because let me tell you, it doesn't take a billionaire to prey on a child, right? Anybody can do it, but what do you do? They are less likely to do that if parents are heavily involved in the lives of their children.
Do you remember last week when I asked about the statute of limitations and
Yes.
then whether or not they could actually sue the estate of Epstein, right? Well, there is an answer now. There was a New York law that was passed it was actually legislated in January and passed in February by the governor, and it is now the New York's Child Victims Act. And this is lengthening the statute of limitation and allowing for these types of claims to come back and be brought.
Criminally?
No, it's civilly.
So this does not allow for criminal prosecution based upon this, but it does expose perpetrators to civil liability.
Civil liability. And it's open now for anybody that of any age that has been abused as a child. 1 year now. They can bring the suit from
enactment.
No, from the enactment, which was February 28th of 2019.
My understanding is it was passed in February, but it went into effect 2 days ago.
Now that's true. It was actually signed into law in February, and then it's now become active. So they have 1 year to bring it, and it doesn't matter the age. It also had the impact of lengthening the statute of limitation to 5 years. That means anybody that 5 years from the act that they're complaining of, to 5 years later, anybody of any age up to 55 can bring that act. So now bring a lawsuit. So it's very interesting that happened and the way this has happened and the timing of everything, because literally it was not enacted about Epstein. It was enacted for other victims, but now it's going to really impact the civil lawsuits against Epstein's estate and against the alleged co-conspirators.
In New York. We're talking New York. And actually, there's multiple young women that are accusing Maxwell of this, and so there's going to be more lawsuits coming down the pike and it's not only against Maxwell and the estate. Maxwell's his assistant we talked about, but there's other unnamed individuals that might be brought in.
I think it's a maid. I think it's a housekeeper, and then it was some kind of another assistant besides Maxwell.
Well, and this was happening. Let's go back to 2008, right? He's supposed to serve his jail time, but the allegation was while he was at work, because remember, he had to do the nights in jail, but then he was able to go to his place of business to work. Now, he's still under a form of arrest, which means he can't leave the place of business and go elsewhere. He's supposed to go from the jail to the office and then back to the jail at night, and yet the allegations are that there was a constant stream of girls going in Florida. Now, this is a New York case, but I'm just talking about the behavior of Epstein. How does he get that constant stream of individuals going to that office if he can't go out and procure them himself? He has to have surrogates out there doing essentially recruiting. And, if he has a trusted group that he uses, it's not shocking that he would take that Florida group of actors and then use them up in New York. Fred.
Here's the interesting thing about this. Remember in his plea agreement in 2007, 2008, I thought it was 2008, round numbers, his plea agreement did not include Miss Maxwell. So she did not, it named a number of his quote, co-conspirators, but she was not named in that agreement that for prosecution. So interesting that...
Oh, I thought she was.
No, it was not named in the agreement.
Wow.
Yeah, so the issue is...
So she has exposure.
She may have some exposure.
Yeah.
So not only does she maybe have some civil exposure, but maybe some criminal exposure, and we're going to follow this. But here's the interesting thing. Who's got the money? They're going to follow the money. There's $1 billion sitting there that his heirs, and I don't know much about Epstein. Did he have children? Did he have a wife? I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Well, according to Cal, he wanted to have a lot of children, but he never got around to it.
Wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But good job, Cal. But but I'm just wondering who those heirs are, and those heirs are going to be fighting for that money. It's not like $1 million, which is a lot of money. This is $1 billion with a B.
Actually, it turned out in his financial filings with the court, his net worth was more like $500 million when he actually had to file his documents. He had been fraudulently telling people he was a billionaire.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was a little less, but still more money than I got.
All right, thanks for joining us this hour. This is at the end of hour number 2. If you want to join us and are not able to listen to us live, go to our website, www.radiolawtalk.com. I'm your host, Frederick Penny. We'll be back.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.